Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings and welcome to our final Sunday in July. And we continue our conversation. We'll be talking about this momentarily. We continue our conversation about this idea of being perfectly imperfect. And specifically today, we talk about it as this idea of how it expands and deepens our experience of life. So breathe, because this week we celebrate the beauty of living the imperfect life while still understanding we are perfect. We shall explore the concept of what it means to live without the limitations of not good enough, not smart enough, not something enough, or not yet. I mean, eventually I'll once things settle down, then I can be happy. Once I get this job, then I'll take better care of myself, but not yet. By recognizing the inherent beauty and potential in our perceived imperfections, we open ourselves up to a more expansive, life affirming experience of life. So, if you are ready, let's delve into the power of self compassion, self acceptance, self worth, self care, and develop a deeper sense of how we cultivate, steward this idea of our wholeness, our perfection, and our completeness, even in the midst of life's challenges. Breathe. Dennis Merritt Jones says, you can try to wait until everything is perfect in your life before you seek that moment of enlightenment. But if you do that, you'll probably be waiting an eternity, literally. How many of us we wait for that perfect moment, that perfect whatever it is, that perfect inspiration, that perfect something before I have to have everything perfect before I can draw. I have to have everything perfect before I can graduate or even apply to a school, or I have to have everything perfect before I hit record for Sunday. I have to have everything. What? What does that even mean? Well, I have to have all of my pens and I have to have all my ducks in a row. I have to have all my I's dotted and T's crossed. Why? Why do we do that? Why do we put off our good waiting for perceived perfection rather than do it now? Do it knowing it's not going to be perfect. Do it anyway. Explore this thing called life with all the messiness that comes with creativity and exploration. Dr. Holmes says, your relationship to life is that you are of like nature to it. You are in it and it is in you. Some part of you exists as pure, unmanifested spirit. This side of your nature has never been troubled, never been worried, never been afraid. Since you are fashioned from the stuff of the invisible, capital I invisible, meaning God, its nature is incarnated in you. Yes. And Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 remix. Your relationship to life is your relationship to yourself. Your self, that which is your divinity. You are in it and it is in you. You are it and it is you. There is no separation. Pure, unmanifested spirit is manifesting as you. You are the multifaceted, multi-dimensional, intersectional beingness, being itself as you. Breathe. Plain and simply, as practitioner Charlie Shepherd would often say, you are God. Now act like it. Believe like it. Move like it. Think like it. You are it, so why not live knowing this? He didn't say all that other stuff. He said, you are God, now act like it. I added the other stuff because for me, that's what it is. It's embodying it. It's living as it. This month, last month, Pride Month, June, we are reminded of what it means to have pride in oneself, simply to be authentic. It is not about being puffed up and I'm better than. It's about recognizing and having a sense of dignity, appreciation, love, and validation of yourself. And one of the great things that I am often reminded of is my own journey through pre-coming out. So there's all of this before, and the wrestling and the fighting and the denial and the and the hiding and the all that stuff. And then the coming out. Even with all of the pain and abandonment that happened, there is this understanding that came with it that when I am more authentic, more transparent, I am actually more powerful. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's I have the power to live my life authentically as me. I need not hide. I need not dim my light. I need not. I am. Period. Full stop. Now, the thing is, all of us are either pre, in the midst of, or post closet. Are you still in the closet with your divinity? Are you still in the closet with your sacredness? See, these holy warriors of, these holy bodhisattvas remind us what it means to be multidimensional, multifaceted, multi-talented, intersectional beings being their divine selves. And as any great bodhisattva, they walk the walk and they encourage us to do the same. See, while we celebrate Pride in June, Pride, like Black History Month, like Juneteenth, the energy of Juneteenth, it's a 365-day adventure, experience. Every day is an opportunity to come out of the closet and be what you are, to express what you don't have to wait until you have that perfect. You don't have to wait until you feel that perfect. You don't have to wait until you're already it. Be it now. Embody it now. You are already right here and right now. You are already a multifaceted gem. GEM. Yes, I know, Tracy. Yes, Sue. It is an acronym. We haven't done an acronym for a while. So you are a multifaceted godness expressing magnificently right now, whether you're in the closet or not. This is still the truth of your being. That which is the godness, your divinity, it's already there in full. Question is, much like if suppose you won the Mega Million and you now have $10 million in the bank, are you still living as though you only had $50 in the bank? You have this huge amount in the bank. Are you making use of it? Are you stewarding it in an effective, life affirming manner? Or are you still based upon the consciousness of lack and scarcity? Don't want to touch it. Yeah, Paul is robbing and borrowing from Peter, and there's not enough. Still out of fear, for whatever reason. Fear that others will want more of you. Fear that, well, if I start spending it, I might not stop, and then I'll be broke like so many other people who have won the lottery. They ended up in more debt. So I'm not going to touch it. We're doing the same thing with our divinity, our sacredness, the holy boldness that we talked about back in June. Are we still living from lack and scarcity of, I'm broken, I'm a sinner, I'm not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too poor, I'm too dark, I'm whatever it is? Are we still living from that consciousness? Even though right now, that which is the divine, the godness of the infinite, is right now expressing magnificently throughout all that is, including you. So are you ready to adorn yourself with your bling, to adorn yourself and embody your sacredness, your wholeness, your perfection, and your completeness, even in the midst of making mistakes? Even in the midst of not getting things perfect. Would it be fun for a surfer to surf and never fall off the surfboard? Would it be fun to get into a game of chess knowing you will never lose? Isn't part of the pleasure of going to a baseball game rooting for your team, not knowing if your team will or will not win? Part of the joy of life is the imperfection of life. Now, we're not talking about the heinous things that I'm not talking about that stuff. We're talking about stepping into the energy of, I'm going to write this speech for this keynote address to this group of high school students. I don't know how, I've never done it before, so I don't know how it's going to go. I may make mistakes. I may use the wrong terms. I may open with ladies and gentlemen, which is rooted in binary and duality, even though I know there are non binary students, non gender conforming students, gender rich and gender fluid students. But I address them as ladies and gentlemen. It was, oops. Part of life is stepping out there and living fully. Because, see, the only way we're going to change those other things, war, racism, sexism, etc., is by being here and making the mistakes of the here to change and transform the consciousness of the collective. If we are too afraid to make mistakes here with the workshop, with the books, with the meal, with the working out, with the whatever it is, if we are too afraid to deal with that and address that, there's no way we are going to step into the realm of a Dr. King, Malcolm X, Gandhi. There's no way, because we're afraid of making mistakes when it comes to going grocery shopping, buying clothes. I don't know. Is this going to look good? I don't know. How are people going to what? I mean, are they going to laugh at me if I wear a tie-dye shirt during a Sunday message? Why are you worried about that? Well, I mean, because I want to be validated. I want to be accepted. I want to be loved. Do you love yourself? Do you love yourself enough to wear what you want to wear, regardless of? Do you love yourself enough to step on the stage and deliver that keynote address to these students, knowing you may use terms that don't apply to the TikTok generation because you're using terms from the 80s? Are you still going to? Our invitation is do it anyway. Dr. Holmes says, the universal subjectivity is mind in an abstract and formless state. A creative, universal energy waiting to be used. Yeah, we're waiting to be operated upon. Willing, but having no volition of its own. Ready, but having no initiative. Formless, but ready to take form. I was going to remix it and I changed my mind because there's a lot in there that's anthropomorphic of nature, but moving on. Based upon what he said, this formless waiting to be formed. If I say, look at this image and what do you see? Not the coffee or the berries, the pen and paper. A pen and paper typically used for what? Right? Like if you look at the pen and paper and I say, I want you to use it, this pen and blank paper, what could you use it for? What could it be? Well, one thing, it could be something that you write, which could be any number of things. A letter of resignation, a letter of love, a declaration of vision and principle. It could be, you could write a poem, a screenplay. Numerous things could be written. But since we are spiritually integrated arts, we know that it doesn't stop with just what is written, because you can use a pen and paper to draw as well. So now what could you draw? And you could draw the coffee cup, the berries, the wood to the you could draw so many things. So this formless There are infinite possibilities. And through our consciousness, we turn those possibilities now into probabilities. Once I determine and set my intention to write a poem, I am turning the possibility of what this could be into the probability of what it will be. And once I start writing the poem, as long as I continue to move through the process, it's inevitable. It is now manifested. It is now answered prayer. How are we using this same creative power, the law of mind in action, to manifest, to pull from the formless the infinite possibilities, to pull into form greater probabilities, to continue to move through the process into inevitabilities? For example, is peace on earth possible? If you say no, we need to have a serious conversation, because in the grand scope of things, when you say no, then you are saying it is impossible for that which God is to express and manifest as peacefulness on the face of the planet. You have now put God in a box and limited the infinite potential, the infinite possibilities of how God, source, spirit, the universe can express. So now the question is, we'll say it is possible. It is possible to have peace on earth. Okay, I don't want to just have it as a possibility. I want to experience it. So what is our invitation? To move the possibility of it to the probability. It's far more probable that we will have peace, equity, and justice. And then you continue going through the process. It's inevitable. It's inevitable that there will be peace on earth, goodwill to all. We are invited, those of us who are practicing and studying and embodying Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0, we are invited, encouraged, and called to that level of practice and embodying this teaching. I know, it's a lot. But if we're not going to apply it that way, if we're not going to embody it that way, then what's the point? Fernando Pessoa says, to be great, be whole. Exclude nothing. Exaggerate nothing that is not you. Be whole in everything. Put all you are into the smallest thing you do. So in each lake, the moon shines with splendor because it blooms up above. And we know that the word holiness comes from the concept of the etymology of wholeness. To be great, be holy. Be holy in everything. Put all you are as this holiness into all that you do. The smallest, brushing your teeth. Put your holiness into the brushing of your teeth. Starting the car, tying your shoelaces, brushing your hair, whatever it is, put all that you are as this holiness into it. And that splendor has no choice but to express. Breathe. So, you see where we now you catch where, okay, that's why I wore the shirt. Specifically because June was a challenging month for me. For any of you who know, you know June, Father's Day 2020 was when my mother made her transition. And so that was June 21st, 2020. So June, Father's Day, and then the actual 21st. So there's that space. So now there's the space leading up to it, the space there where it hit me harder this year than last year because last year in June, I almost died. So my mind was focused on my healing and whatnot post surgery. But this year, there was greater capacity to feel saturated melancholy. At some point in life, if we live long enough, we all experience sadness, frustration, anger, and grief. These things will twist us and bind us in unfathomable ways. And often what follows is the saturation of melancholy. It's like being waterlogged with the agony of angst and the woes of witnessing despair. Feeling alone, feeling fearful and riddled with pain over and over and over again. And if we have been exposed to effective tools of transformation and healing, we eventually dry out, we unfold, and we are unbound. It is then that we see how we have been marked and impacted by all that we were saturated with. And we look and we ask, are these marks to be hidden or worn boldly? Are we not beautiful because of these marks? Are we not beautiful not because imperfect, not because of the marks, but beautiful in spite of them? We can hide ourselves away in the closet, or we can reveal, come out of the closet, how powerfully we do the work each day to show up as our authentic, vulnerable, and magnificent selves, the gem that we are. Today, I show my true and my full colors. Saturated melancholy. To this idea of being imperfect or being perfect and imperfect or whatever is the idea that says in New Thought, because Science of Mind, New Thought, the old New Thought, we had to put on the mask of everything is beautiful and I'm happy. But behind the mask, we're like sad, depressed, lonely, afraid. But don't show up in community like that. Don't let anybody know, because the first thing that's going to come out of their mouth is stop thinking that way. If you stop thinking it, you'll stop attracting it. What's in your consciousness? The law of attraction says if you think about, if you talk about it, you bring more about. Like Morgan Freeman said, if you want racism to end, stop talking about it. What? So if I'm hungry and I tell someone that I'm hungry, I'm attracting more hungry. I'm attracting more hunger. I'm attracting more. Or am I stating a fact? I am hungry. My shoulder hurts and I'm in pain. Don't, because you're going to attract more pain. How the hell am I supposed to go to the doctor and you follow that line of thought? So in where we are now, New Thought 4.0, Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0, it's about being authentic. It's about showing up fully saturated in your melancholy, knowing that there are tools and practices to how to navigate no matter what. So it's not about not talking about it, it's about changing how we talk about it. What we do versus it's that whole mental equivalent, all four pillars in life affirming ways. Breathe. Audre Lorde says, I find I am constantly being encouraged to pluck out some one aspect of myself and present this as the meaningful whole, eclipsing or denying the other parts of self. So I have to, rather than being intersectional, I have to pick one. I'm Black and present that while denying all the other parts, or gay and deny all the other parts, rather than bringing the full expansiveness to space. Now, when I read this, one of the things that came to mind, which we're going to talk about in a second, I want to remix this just for the sake of bringing into everything we've been talking about. I find I am constantly being encouraged to pluck out some aspects of the self that I was conditioned to believe was myself. That self that was broken, needing to be validated, and had to earn love. I remove those beliefs, as sticky as they are, and I present my healing self, my true self, my whole self. And this true self is no longer eclipsed by the non-life affirming beliefs that I once held as truth. Are we willing? Are we really willing to show up in full, our whole selves? As Bruce Lee said, it is not daily increase, but daily decrease. Removing all that is unessential, removing the paradigms, the beliefs, the consciousness that is unessential, that is not the truth of your being. We try to add, if I take another workshop, then things will be perfect. If I read this book, things will be perfect. You can still take the workshop, but don't assume that that workshop is the magic pill or that book is the magic pill. It's a process. If there's such thing as a magic pill, then the magic pill is, you know what? I'm actually perfect now, even though I can't balance my checkbook right now. I'm actually perfect right now, even though I just got a divorce. I'm actually perfect right now, even though none of my children talk to me. I'm actually perfect right now, even though I fell off my sobriety and need to go back to another AA meeting. I'm actually perfect, even though I am unhoused and live in a box under a bridge. I'm actually perfect. So even in the midst of, I'm going to take the workshop, read the book, do whatever, but it's knowing that even with this external experience, the gem that I am is what I am. So our invitation, our practice is to prune, to snip away the unessential. There's a practice in Japan called Kaizen, or not a practice, but an ideology, a philosophy that normally is referenced as constant and never-ending improvement, which for me, I like more the energy of, it's not about improving, it's more about consistent growth, or being consistent in your growth, in your evolving, and in your being who and what you are, moment by moment, moment by moment. And it's a never ending, it's an ongoing process, just like breathing, just like sunrise and sunset, the process of nature. So we're invited that no matter what's going on, identify the things, the beliefs, the terms, the lingo, the jargon, the whatever. Identify. You know what? That's not really effective to get me where I want to get, to experience what I want to experience, to create a world that works for all. I'm not going to get there by talking about this. I don't remember, because the name just dropped out of my head, who said, if you want to go east, don't go west. That means you have to know where east is and to be willing to go east. Do we know what a world that works? Do we know what a life that works for us looks like in order to a life of sobriety versus a life of addiction? If you want sobriety, don't. If you want open space, don't clutter, don't hoard. If you want peace, don't war. Are we willing to step into the greater practice of what it means, what it looks like to live this way, to experience this? Tara Branch says, on this sacred path of radical acceptance, rather than striving for perfection, we discover how to love ourselves into wholeness. Rather than striving for what we already are, be it, which means understanding our wholeness, our perfection, and our completeness, does not change and does not diminish when we're sad. It does not change, does not diminish when our body is not functioning the way we desire. Does not change, does not diminish, does not lessen in any way, shape, or form when our finances aren't, when there's no longer a home that we live in, when there's this truth of our being does not change, does not diminish based upon the external things that are going on. So when we love ourselves into our wholeness, we love ourselves to a degree where we say, even in the midst of being diagnosed with prostate cancer, I know that I am whole, perfect, and complete. And that even when this body is no longer viable or sustainable or whatever word in this body, it is time to relinquish this body, to die. My wholeness, my perfection, and my completeness go into the next iteration of life after life. This illness does not impact that. Does the illness impact how I navigate life? Yes. But that doesn't diminish or decrease, limit my wholeness, my perfection, my completeness. And what is true of me is true for you, because this truth is true for all of what God is. Breathe. When we truly study, practice, and embody the science of mind and spirit as a way of life, we recognize the importance of creative chaos, the mystery of the unknown, the gift of happy accidents. It is in this space that we create a life that works for us and a world that works for all. Without needing to get it all perfect, what needs to get done gets done perfectly in vastly imperfect ways. We explore, we experiment, we entertain possibilities, and we expand into the field of joyful, imaginative, and imperfect expression of life.
as our amen. We draw, we erase. We draw, we erase. We draw until the drawing at last says yes. But that is not where it ends, because once that drawing is done, another drawing or another painting or another song or another sentence, another breath follows to the next and the next. Because that which God is ever expanding consciousness, and what it is, we are. This week's affirmation declaration, I will say it first. And if it resonates with you, say it with me on the second go round. I embrace imperfection and accept all of myself, radical acceptance, and accept all of myself. Together. I embrace imperfection and accept all of myself. And so it is. This week's journal questions or study questions for the Thursday night group. Share a time when you allowed yourself to be vulnerable, and share how it impacted your connection with whomever you were with, and how it impacted your own personal growth. What is most challenging for you regarding being vulnerable or being imperfect? Number 2, think of examples where embracing imperfections in yourself and or in others has eventually led to life-affirming and desired outcomes. And what were those outcomes? Was it greater communication or collaboration? What was the outcome that showed up when you embraced your own imperfections or someone else's imperfection? Number 3, how can we create a culture of acceptance and authenticity within our community, SIA, within our community, CSL, within our community, whatever that is, and our organization, and our planet, and our government, and we could go on. How do we create a greater culture of acceptance and authenticity? And then lastly, what is something you desire to do and are willing to mess up at it in order to develop greater skill, greater capacity, etc., regarding it? Are you willing to Silent night. So I can see the look on Tracy's face right now. What is something that you desire that you're willing to mess up at in order to simply enjoy it more, to develop the skill and greater capacity regarding it? Breathe. And we enter into that space of infinite knowing. We refer to as prayer, knowing that prayer is far more than just a practice. Prayer is the way we live our lives. As it says in the Bible, we are called to or invited to, challenged to pray without ceasing. In other words, we are invited to make our living, moving, and being be our prayer. Prayer is the way you open the door and hold it for someone to enter. Prayer is the way you get a second serving of cake for someone to take home. Prayer is how you are in the grocery store and you reach up to the top shelf to hand it to someone who was unable to reach that. Prayer is how you say hello and good morning. Prayer is how you recycle. Prayer is how you take care of yourself. Prayer is how we live our lives. And so, knowing this, we know that in this thing called life, there are going to be what we refer to as ups and downs. There are going to be moments of discomfort. And sometimes that discomfort is invited discomfort. When we engage in a challenging or courageous conversation, we are inviting the discomfort into the room to have this conversation. Knowing that there is going to be imperfection showing up as well. And we welcome it. We welcome it because it is part of the adventure. It is part of this thing called life. And even in the imperfection, even in the discomfort, our wholeness, our perfection, and our completeness is ever present because the gem that we are is ever present. It's not just in us, nor is it just with us. It is us. We breathe and we allow this truth, we allow this energy, this authenticity and radical acceptance of who and what we are as the divine expression of the one to be how we walk the walk, how we show up in relationship with ourselves, with others, and the world. The law receives and says yes, and says amen, and does what it does. And knowing that it does what it does, we too align our mental equivalents in such a way that our thoughts, our words, our emotions and feelings, and our actions are so life affirming and powerful that we shift and change the collective consciousness and we manifest a world that truly does work for all. We are clear in vision, we are convicted in purpose, and we are aligned powerfully to do the work, to till the soil, to plant the seed, and to harvest the answered prayer. Knowing that it is already in the one mind, it is already moving in this thing called life, it is already done, it is already so. And so we embody our amen and we live it. And so it is. Namaste and blessings, everyone. If I'm not mistaken, we have after message fellowship. I'm pretty sure we have it today. So I will see you over in Zoom if you are able to join us. And if not, then I will either see you during the week or I will see you here next Sunday. And remember, next Sunday, the beginning of the month, 30 minutes before the 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time broadcast, is our first Sunday of the month meditation, each first Sunday of the month. So much love, blessings. Chat with you soon.